I'm striving to get rich. That's why I always went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little proud.
I know this is a subject I said I was going to cover in my Bears reaction video. So let's just get right into it. The Bears need a rebuild. The Bears absolutely need a rebuild. Now, I said in my reaction video I was going to do a video explaining more of my thoughts and reasonings of why the Bears actually need a rebuild. So here we go. Problem number one with the Chicago Bears organization, the roster does not mesh. And this is why I say this. The Bears defensively are ready to win now. The Bears on the defensive side of the ball are ready to compete and win right now. Not necessarily win the Super Bowl, not necessarily be a top 10 contending team in my opinion, but when you look at the Bears defensively and the way they are structured and the contracts that have been handed out to Khalil Mack, to Akeem Hicks, even though he's expiring this year, the contracts that you give to Robert Quinn, the extensions to Eddie Jackson, the extensions to Denny Trevathan. You got Roquan Smith, who is coming up on an extension, and he's developed into one of the better middle linebackers that we have in football. You have Jalen Johnson, who's developing into a shutdown type of corner. This defense, as constructed now, are ready to win. They are ready to win. You got guys that are older in age with Mack and Quinn and Hicks and Trevathan. You have a roster on your defensive side of the ball that is getting a little bit older in the tooth. And not to mention, Tashawn Gibson at safety is a little bit older in age as well. You do have younger corners. The rest of your pieces are in a position where they are ready to win now. Versus on the offensive side of the ball for this Bears team, yeah, they do have Jason Peters, but Jason Peters' signing was more because of a Tevin Jenkins injury, was because more of Larry Borom dealing with some injuries in camp and them not really being quite right. Ifedi missed a lot of time in camp. So the Jason Peters signing was due to injuries. And if it wasn't for injuries, Jason Peters would not be in a Chicago Bears uniform right now, in my humble opinion. And the Bears on the offensive side of the ball are extremely young. They are extremely young. You look at Whitehair, you look at Mustafa, you look at Daniels. Those are three young interior offensive linemen. Even though they haven't been playing the best this year, they're young. David Montgomery is only in his third season. He's young. Mooney, who's your number 2, is in his second season. He's young. And on top of all of the youth, the Bears move up into the draft to select Justin Fields. Now, we all are happy about the Justin Fields pick. The Bears were aggressive. They got the quarterback of their future. But I believe if that was the plan to go draft Justin Fields, the Bears should have been in a rebuild. The Bears should have been in a rebuild. Because they've been in the middle with the pack at 8-8, both in 2019 and also in 2020. If the Bears' agenda was to go and get Justin Fields, I believe that they should have been in a rebuild mode, especially with the developing young quarterback like Justin Fields. Like I said, the defense is ready to win now. And the offense still has a lot of growing to do, even though I believe personally more of the offensive struggles have been, to me, more on the coaching staff than the players, even though I'm not going to not blame the players for the Bears' offensive struggles. The Raiders roster is now, and the coaching staff for the Bears is now, should have been a full-blown rebuild. And 2, speaking on the coaching staff, Nagy is not the right coach, and the Bears do not have the proper coaching staff in place to develop Justin Fields. This Chicago Bears offense is not working. It hasn't worked in 2019. Didn't work last year. Hasn't worked this year. This offense for the Bears typically cannot score more than 14 points in a game. And 14 points in today's offensive league, it's not going to get you anywhere. Because for the part of this Bears season, actually all of this Bears season, this Bears offense has not scored more than 14 points. We look at the Rams game in week 1. They had exactly 14 points as an offense. We look at week 2 versus Cincy. The Bears had 13 points as an offense. 1 touchdown, field goals, and it was a pick 6 by Roquan Smith. Week 3, Cleveland, 6 points as an offense. 6. We look at Detroit. The Bears had 20 points, 2 touchdowns. And they were both with David Montgomery. Not the passing game, David Montgomery. Then we go to Las Vegas. The Bears scored 2 touchdowns. And then field goals. Mind you, the defense played well in that game, but they didn't produce the above 20 points. They didn't produce it. Then we turn around, we go to Green Bay. 14 points. 14 points. Last week against Tampa, 3 points. Bears passing, dead last. Overall, as an offense, dead last. Now, we're going to point towards the Jets, Giants, Jaguars, teams like that. Or the Lions, for example. But the thing about those teams versus the Chicago Bears teams, those teams are in a clear rebuild. Jets are in a clear rebuild. Jaguars, clear rebuild. Lions, clear rebuild. The Giants, they're probably in a so much similar situation to the Bears. But the Bears mix and match. And that is why I really feel that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy must be gone after this season. It's not the fact that the Bears don't have talent. The Bears have some talent. It's just the roster as construction now doesn't mesh very well. It just does not. You have an offense that is clearly in need of a rebuild, clearly in need of a new coaching staff, clearly in need of a system in place that is going to benefit Justin Fields going forward. The offense, and I said this after last season, no matter what the plan was to draft a quarterback, to sign a quarterback, the Bears on the offensive side of the ball need a rebuild. And the defense is very solid. Last week wasn't so great. For the most part of this year, this defense has been solid, but they are getting older, and they are in a position that the Bears need to win now, and the offense just isn't there to catch up with the defense. And this is why you get games like Green Bay this year. You get games like the Rams this year. You get games like Cleveland. You get these games from this Bears team because if you look at the roster, it just doesn't mesh well. And on top of that, you spent absolutely nothing to solidify your offensive line, which has been the problem with the Bears the last 2 years. And you really don't invest in your offensive line, especially if you're going to protect your quarterback and move up in the draft to get a highly talented quarterback in Justin Fields. You should have investment in your offensive line to make sure that he is protected. The offensive line for the Bears is pretty much patchwork. Majority late round picks or free agents cast off signings. Ifedi, Peters, Wilkinson. You have a patchwork offensive line to try to protect your young quarterback in an offensive system that has proven that, number one, the play calling has been bad. 2, schematically, it just doesn't work. And you're going to have to develop a quarterback with this regime. If that regime is intact after next year, if they're intact next year, we can pretty much cancel the development of Justin Fields. And I hate to say it because this offense is proven to not work at all. And it's been inconsistent. Even in 2018, when the Bears had their best season, the offense was still inconsistent. It's just that defense in 2018 was absolutely elite. it carried them in games. And that defense is not the same now. And the way the roster is constructed is similar to that of 2018, where you have so many pieces on your defense that are ready to produce and win now versus an offense that still needs more developing. It still needs more developing. So, in my belief, the Bears organization, after this year, because the Bears have a history of not firing coaches and staff in the middle of the season, but I believe in Black Monday, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy need to be gone, and the Bears need to do a full-out rebuild. If they want Justin Fields, if ownership wants Justin Fields to reach his full potential, get him out of this offense, get him away from these pieces, and do a full rebuild so the entire team can grow together versus you have a unit that's developing and a unit that's ready to win. Does not mesh at all. But those are my thoughts on the Bears needing an absolute rebuild. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to see what you guys think. Leave this video a like. That helps this channel to grow absolutely tremendously. And also click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss a single video. But I'm APW Sports. I am signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next vid. Peace.